Good to see you. What do you think this spell will demand of you as a manager? Because this isn't the football that any of us are used to. In fact, it's very different in so many ways.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of challenges. A lot of them I think we've already encountered in the short period to try and get the players fit for these games. They were off for a long time. We've had to try and guard against injury whilst getting as fit as we can. And I think we'll see that in the early games, probably for everyone. We're all in the same situation with that one. And then, just making the players as aware as I can of the challenges that are coming up and the things that look different. But there are things that are different. But one thing that pretty much remains the same is the players on the pitch realising what's at stake in these games and performing to the best of their abilities to try and win for Chelsea. So that's the focus, and we'll try and take that into every game.
You've acted very swiftly in the transfer market. You've obviously been thinking about it over the intervening months of the enforced break. Do you believe Timo Werner is one of those players who will lift you slightly closer to the top two next season, even challenge properly?
Well, I think he's clearly a player that we liked. I've certainly followed him for a long time myself individually, just as a talented player, even before I had this job. But as a club, clearly we went for him, and he certainly will strengthen us, in my opinion. Got huge talent, has had a fantastic season this year, but before that as well. Where we probably couldn't do as much business in the last couple of windows, for whatever reasons, it's given us a chance to see some youth have more time in the team. But we were very clear about we want to improve, and Timo Werner we feel was a signing that would improve us. I'm certainly very excited to have him playing for Chelsea, and we look forward to having him. We've obviously got games to encounter now to try and finish this season well, but we do look forward to having him for next season.
Did it feel like a coup for Chelsea to get him, because it looked for quite a while as if he was going to Liverpool? I mean, what were the dynamics? What changed to get him to your club?
I don't know. That's probably a better question to ask Timo himself than myself. We worked as hard as we could. I had good conversations with him personally, where I think he hopefully understands what I want to do here with the club, how we work, how we play. Hopefully, it seemed like it came across as a really exciting project for him, because he obviously had some very, very good options. So yeah, we're happy with that, and it was very joined up from our end how we went about it, and we're just pleased that Timo's decided to come to us.
What did you make of the first two games on Wednesday night, obviously at Villa and at Manchester City? And more specifically, what did you make of the GDS decision? Was it a case for the VAR and maybe even the referee to intervene on that? Was that what you'd expected?
Yeah, I would have done. And I feel for Sheffield United and Chris Wilder, because their emotions rightly would have been running very high because of what is at stake in these moments. And I also have sympathy for the referee on the pitch. It's something that I think we all pretty much take for granted, that it works. And it's worked thousands of times, as we've all been told since. So I think it was a difficult situation. Clearly, in the future, I think we have to make sure that VAR is across it and makes doubly sure. It's one of the reasons that VAR is there, to back up decisions. We thought this one was clear cut, and now we realise that it isn't. So I certainly feel sorry for Sheffield United. In terms of the games, I really enjoyed it. It was great to have football back. Great viewing for us all. We've all missed it. All quality teams playing, and we've got more to come.
Okay, we'll go over to Moose at TalkSport.
Hi Frank, how are you?
Hello Moose, very good.
Been all right last 3 months?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
December was a very public reunion between you and JT. This weekend, more of a private one, I guess. Yeah,
always good to see him. We've had a couple of messages not relating to the game. We're always in touch with each other, but always good to go up against JT. Huge respect for him, obviously, from our career together, and the fact that we're friends, and obviously Dean Smith as well. So we're friendly, but we both have big things at stake in this game. So I'm looking forward to it.
I was going to say, with no battle for the title, that's Liverpool's. The battle for top four and the relegation battle is what's going to consume everybody in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, certainly will. There's a lot of work to be done. We know there's a lot of competition for the top four places. So we're in that battle, and we're very honest about it. As these games, we need to be at our best to try and amass enough points to get us there. And of course, the relegation battle was similar. There were quite a few teams that will still feel they're involved. So, yeah, this is the Premier League. There's always this kind of jeopardy, and it's about how we focus on our job in hand.
You played a lot of tournament football in your career. A lot of people say in the next 6 weeks, the end of the season, is like a mini tournament. It's like tournament football because you're playing so many games in a short space of time. Is that how you kind of see it?
Yeah, I get it. I get that thought process. It is very unique in the tournaments. I think, have had a season and a build up, and your bodies are very ready for it. What is new here, and we saw a few injuries in the first evening of football with Arsenal in particular, is that the players, we need to see how the players are a little bit. We've trained really well the players. We've had some games behind closed doors, but nothing replicates the Premier League. So that will be the interesting point from my part, to see how we as a team perform in the first games, and then it will be about recovery the next game, and using the squad. We're going to have to use all the players to keep the team as fresh as we can. For, like you say, it's pretty much similar to tournament football.
I know you like Villa Park. Good luck at the weekend.
Thanks. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, we'll now go over to BBC 5 Live. Pete Stevens.
Hello, Frank.
Hi, Pete.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Frank, when you're in the dressing room tomorrow, what's going to be the biggest challenge for you? Is it to sort of say to the players that don't go full throttle straight away, well, let's build into the game? Or is it best to sort of start pressing from the front and establish yourself as a dominating team?
Well, I think we have to go full throttle no matter what game it is. We have the ability to use more subs than usual. Never think we can approach a game without the idea of being full throttle. That doesn't mean press from the front and all that stuff. I mean full throttle as in give the game everything it can do. Whatever our game plan is, we'll have to try and be at our best. As I sort of mentioned before, it won't be easy because of the circumstances, but all teams are in pretty similar situations with that. So I just expect us to be ready and to be focused. And we know how much is at stake with these points, so we have to start well.
I doubt if any of the players have played in this sort of environment at all before. What do you think is going to be the main problem for them to adjust to an empty stadium?
Yeah, possibly. I think we all feed off atmosphere inside packed stadiums. It's the beauty of the Premier League, the home support, the tribalism, what it does to you in terms of adrenaline and how that makes the game run. But we have to inject that in ourselves. You know, that's something that the players individually and collectively as a team have to be, I think, a bit selfish about it. Want to perform at your highest level, no matter that there isn't a crowd, because there's certainly a huge crowd at home watching, the sort of people that have been watching this all over the world with how desperate we are for football to be back. The players will understand that and will want to perform as well as they can.
Have you been watching any of the German football, the Bundesliga, and have you been surprised by the results, especially those that affected the home teams?
Yeah, I mean, interested in it. I think we're all looking for a change of what the lack of fans in the stadium will bring, and it seems to have been pretty strong change in Germany. But I wouldn't jump the gun. I think the Premier League has its own attributes, and we'll have to see how they're affected by having no crowds. I mean, we'll see as we go along.
And we've seen an incident this morning down at Bournemouth where Eddie Howe has told Ryan Fraser that he's played his last game for the club because he's indicated that he's out of contract and probably would rather favour not playing so that it makes sure he might not get injured or anything like that before the end of the season. Can you understand that with players rather preferring to take a back seat, not finish the season with the club because their contracts are running out?
Yeah, I would have sympathy individually with the player to make the decision they see as right and for their own needs. As a club, obviously, if we're trying to extend players to stay with us for that period, we want them to stay. So we have, as well documented a couple of those conversations that are ongoing. We have until next week to find the solution, hopefully, because it would be great for us, obviously, to finish with the squad that we started this campaign with and with the quality players that we're talking about.
Okay, we'll now go over to Alex at PLP, please.
So, Frank, you mentioned you've spoken to Timo a lot. Did you speak to him straight after he signed? And if so, what did he say to him? Tell me about that conversation.
Well, yeah, I did speak to him and he was excited, which is great. I'm certainly excited to have him here. And we obviously have to hold our breath slightly because we have business at hand and so does he at the moment, finishing their league. But, yeah, I've spoken to him and as I say, he's the type of player and type of profile we're looking at. Players that can really come here and have a big impact. Hopefully, we'll have to give him a bit of time and adapt him. We know the Premier League is a slightly different animal to all other leagues in world football, But the talent I think Timo has, and the work ethic, and his personality and humility actually really shone through for me when speaking to him. So I'm very excited to have him in all senses.
What's the team news for Sunday? Do you have a fully fit squad to choose from?
And we have a couple of issues. We've got Fikayo Tomori has got a muscle injury, probably from the stresses of trying to get fit quickly. We've had to try and go against that. But with Fikayo, he has an injury that should probably keep him out for the next 10 days or so. And with Callum Hudson-Odoi, he had a small injury earlier on in the training process, and he's not match fit, albeit he's physically fit now.
And are you pleased with what you've seen in the friendlies, and have those games helped the players adapt to playing in an empty stadium?
I hope so. It's been a good process, obviously, to do that, because the players will have to get used to that and get used to it very quickly. I'm pleased with some things I've seen, but the real judgment will come on Sunday and onwards, and when it really matters. So we have to be ready.
And would you say Aston Villa have a small advantage going into the game, given the fact that they've already played a game at Villa Park behind closed doors since the restart?
Maybe. I think you could look at it that way. They've sampled the change in atmosphere and the things that come with that behind the scenes almost as well, the protocol for match day. And maybe they've had a game at a level for their fitness. They had 4 days between games to recover. So maybe there's that, but I don't want to lean on that too much going into the game. You can read too much into those sort of things. Sometimes it's whoever performs on the day.
Hi, Frank. Have you spoken to Tammy at all this week, following the arrival of Timo, and kind of what his arrival will mean for him, and what your plans for the pair of them moving forward next season?
Yeah, I've spoken to Tammy before about the idea of competition, and I don't feel the need to have to address every player if a player comes in that might contest a position at a club like Chelsea, because that's what it's about. It's been about that in its most successful years in recent years, when we've been successful clubs in the Roman Abramovich era mainly. And Tammy obviously had a very good season for us this season. Has to sustain and improve on that, because at Chelsea we have demand. So no, I'm happy to have options, and we have options in forward areas, and we must have competition for places. So I'm pleased with the idea of that.